हरि ओम। ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादम् शंकरं लोकशंकरम् शंकरं शंकराचार्यम् केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयं देवम् सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। हरि ओम। We are in the concluding session of Adhyasa Bhashyam of Shankara Bhashya on Brahma Sutra. It rarely happens that we trace back our travel. We have journeyed through the time a very long, perhaps almost time immemorial. We have been traveling down the line, down the aisle of time. But if we think about it, it all started from the one and the only one. We all belong to that one Ekameva Dvitiya. The all umpteen universal varieties of things that we see, including ourselves, we all have descended from that which is undivisible, which is all pervasive, which is only and only one. In fact, it is beyond time. We are in time. In other words, that entity which is timeless and the only entity from which all has emanated. So from the timeless thing, Vastu, as normally Brahma is referred as, that timeless, characterless, modificationless, differentiationless, partless, pure, pristine Brahma, all that got degenerated down the line entered into the realm of time. So in simpler words, our journey is from timelessness to time, from timelessness to time, from spacelessness to space. The bind that we have is of time and space. And it's really interesting and surprising to note that we are time bound and space bound, although we have come from that which is not a time bound and not space bound. This is the most intriguing aspect of life. A timeless, a spaceless thing becoming bound by the time and space. A very powerful person has enormous amount of power in him, and imagine that power itself is destroying him. Sounds very surprising. The potency, the power which one has is the raison d'etre, the chief reason of one smothering himself. It is like throttling one's own neck with his own hands. This is what the journey downwards, Skalana, from timelessness to time, spacelessness to space. Imagine the vast ocean has thrown up a small foam bubble. Now, a foam bubble is bound by a shape, and it is there for some time because it is going to burst. So a foam bubble on the surface of the ocean is a very small modification which is bound by space and time. Both are useless as compared to spaceless and timeless ocean. And the highest tragedy of this separatedness is the feeling of the foam bubble as me separate than the ocean, or the one who came down into the time-bound and the space-bound environment thinking that he is different than the origin. This separation is conceptual, a very important word, conceptual. A concept is born. Concept is an aberration. Concept is an artificial creation. The foam bubble, when it arises on the surface of the ocean, starts conceptualizing that he is separate than the ocean. In the similar manner, the timeless and the spaceless, when becomes time and space bound, this binding itself is arising out of the conceptualization that I am separate than my origin. In fact, the conceptualization of time and space itself is separatedness from the timeless. So all of us who have essentially sprang from a common source, to put it in modern perspective, prior to the Big Bang theory, whatever was existing was one. Post creation of time and space, who created the time and space? That which thought of time and space as the binding factor. This very conceptualization by anyone who conceptualizes time and space becomes an individual. The moment we stop conceptualizing time and space, in other words, moment we do not think or are not bound by time and space, we are one with the one. So we all are a very strange combination of the center, which is coming from timelessness, and the periphery, which is bound by time and space. We are a weird combination of timeless and time bound. How these two opposites can reside in an individual? That is the strangest and most mystical part of creation. However, the proof of such strange combination of timelessness with the time bound staying together in one individual entity can be seen from the fact that we are always trying our level best to be timeless in the time bound environment. Take the example of the word death. No one likes death. We abhor death. We hate death to an extent that even we don't think of it, even though we know we are going to die one day. Even the person who is in his late 80s will never ever think of dying because he doesn't want to die. He wants to be timeless in the time-bound body. In other words, all those who are time-bound are constantly remembering the origin from where they originated, which is timelessness. And that is the reason why the one that was timeless was only one. So he being only one, there being no another, the power was residing in him. He was all encompassive. There is nothing that is beyond that only one. We carry all those traits in us. That is the reason we want to possess everything. There is a desire to possess and possess and possess and possess, and so much of possession that no possession is left. That is possible only when I am the only one present in this world, which again brings us back to our origin, which is timelessness. It's a very strange and a weird struggle of a time-bound, space-bound for timelessness and spacelessness. What an irony. The one who is fixated with the idea of time-bound and space-bound is constantly trying to become timeless and spaceless. All our activities, all our desires, all our actions are simply oriented to that. Leave the minor details like family, wife, possessions and mountains, and leave those minor details. At a cosmic level, every individual is trying to bring forth his kernel of origin lying in the center of his heart, which is timelessness and the spacelessness. And if we really study the cause of this tragedy, the cause of this dichotomy, cause of this constant torsion between two aspects, opposite aspects, we realize that it is nothing else but the time when we conceptualized ourselves as separate than the origin. The moment the foam bubble of the ocean thought himself to be a separate thing from the ocean, his trouble started. There is no birth and death for the ocean. There is birth and death for the bubble. The bubble shall burst. The bubble shall come again. It makes no difference to the ocean. Till the time the bubble realizes that I belong to the ocean, and there is no need to form a bubble, there is no need to conceptualize myself as separate from the ocean. The story of bubble and ocean is over, because there is only ocean, no bubble left. In order to explain this absolute intriguing and very mystical appearing kind of philosophy, which appears esoteric in nature, being lucky to have been born into the tradition of Aryans, who took this as the main theme of thought rather than the world as a theme of thought. A Hindu always thinks of how to get out of the world than what is there in the world. That is why all the progresses, industrial or otherwise, might outshine in the Western world. It might put the glare in front of the eyes by the very shining aspect of the avishkar of the human mind, yet the pioneering and the everlasting efforts done by the rishis and the munis in finding out something out of the world rather than in the world has always kept the Oriental philosophy, more so the Hindu philosophy, or the Sanatana Dharma philosophy, or the Shruti philosophy as the highest. And owing allegiance to such an highest philosophy, one of the most difficult treatises written in order to explain the absolute esoteric nature of the utterances of Upanishada or the Uttara Mimamsa, the Brahma Sutra was written, which itself became further intriguing, although was expected to explain the intriguing aspect of the Upanishadic statements. And that is where the stalwarts, the reincarnation of Shiva himself, Shankaracharya, came forward to explain this aberration that happened from the origin when it became space and time bound, the concept of individualization or the conceptualization that I am an individual. And that is the reason that the time when the one who came from the one thought that he is second, the time when the one who was one with the one conceptualized that he is not one with the one but separate, that is the time his conceptualization went forward by leaps and bounds and created the whole universe, which Acharya says is nothing else but the creation of this conceptualization. So all that you see, call, and interact as world is nothing else but the conceptualization of an aberration that is happening by individualizing the unitary aspect of the world, to which he gave the name Adhyasa. So all that appears, it is only an appearance, it has no reality, because it has emanated from the conceptualization of the world. In order to explain how it is the conceptualization and not the original one or the Brahma, the Acharya says, from the Brahma everything has emanated. However, the one down the line who thinks of individualization or conceptualization of this world has created his own world, which is not true, but coming entirely from the conceptualization. So the bubble has no reality whatsoever. It does appear on the ocean, but it is an appearance. There is no way the bubble can appear unless the ocean is there, because the bubble is made up of water only. If the foam bubble is made up of water only, then it is essentially water. Yet, because it has taken the appearance of a bubble, it looks different than the ocean to the bubble, not to the ocean. When you look towards the bubble from the ocean point of view, it is called Paramarthik Satta. When you look towards everything through the bubble's point of view, it is called the Vyavaharika Satta. So for the bubble is true as long as you are in the bubble. The moment you look at the ocean and become one with the ocean, the bubble becomes false. Appearance. And the biggest difficulty is the one who is a bubble cannot think of the ocean, and one who is an ocean does not even imagine bubble. So all those who are in the ocean, they say there is no bubble only. And all those who are in the bubble, they say that bubble is everywhere. How it is possible for the bubble to know that he is not the bubble but the ocean? Remaining in the bubble is the most difficult thing, which is called Adhyatma, which is called Uttaramimamsa. Brahma Sutra is an attempt to tell the bubble, the individual, the conceptualized one, that he is not the bubble but the ocean. Unfortunately, bubble is limited, so he doesn't know the vastness. His vastness only extends up to the bubble diameter. So our vastness only extends up to the known sensory world, while the ocean is so vast that it is beyond the imagination of the bubble. In other words, bubble has very few implements in the hand to know the ocean. That is why many Purva Paksha people say that it is impossible for the bubble to know the ocean, because how the limited one can know the unlimited, how the finite one can know the infinite. And the only window the bubble has to see the vastness of ocean is called intellect. The bubble has a small aperture called intellect through which he can see outside the bubble. Through the continuous sadhana, this aperture or this hole in the bubble is made larger, 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 and they see more and more ocean. To an extent, when the aperture becomes so large that the bubble bursts, that is the time when bubble merges with the ocean. Till the time the bubble has merged with the ocean, till the time the individuality has transcended the time and space and again become one with that which is timeless and spaceless, the sadhana shall continue. And in order to first make the bubble know that he is a bubble, not the ocean. He needs to be told that you are an appearance only, not the substratum. This is precisely what Shankaracharya is doing by talking about Adhyasa Bhashya, telling the individual conceptualized time and space bound individual that, hey, look here, you are the Adhyasa on the vast ocean, the Brahma. And in that consequence, he has already explained to us so far how the pramana prameya vyavhara in this world happens. First, he is trying to tell us as an individual, what do we do in this world? And then tries to prove that what you think you are doing as the jnana, whatever you call in this world, is nothing else but adhyasa. Even the study of Brahma Sutra is an adhyasa. Even the fact that I understood Brahma Sutra is an adhyasa. Even Chitta Shuddhi is an adhyasa. Why? It is still limited to the individual conceptualization. However, there is a difference of Vadi and Samvadi Brahma. Vadi and Samvadi Adhyasa. What is Vadi and Samvadi Brahma? We get involved into this world and get into all kind of vikaras. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara. This is also conceptualization. This is also adhyasa only. And I am studying Brahma Sutra, Veda, Shruti, Adhyayana, etc. is also adhyasa. The difference between the two is one shall lead to destruction, the other shall lead to further progression. You keep hitting an earthen pot in a dark room. If you hit the dark room, in the dark room, an earthen pot, what will come out? If there is nothing inside the earthen pot, then only darkness will come out. But if by chance and by opportunity, if you hit a pot which is holding a flame inside or a fire inside, it will give you light. Now, light is existing, pre-existing inside that particular plot. You happen to break the pot. You have not lighted the light. But because you happen to break the pot, the light became evident. Similarly, by doing the Vedadhyayana or Brahma Sutra Bhashya Abhyasa, there is a possibility of breaking that pot which may contain light. That is why this is called a Samvadi Brahma. And that is one of the reason, purpose, aim, goal, objective of the study of Brahma Sutra is to at least grapple with the idea of ultimate truth. One cannot forget that Brahma Sutra is the study of ultimate truth. If that which is not ultimate truth can tax your intellect to an extent where you may get completely fatigued, whether it is the field of astrophysics or theory of relativity, of quantum mechanics or whatever, it is mind-boggling. It cannot be understood by everyone except the person who is deep into the study of that particular branch of science. If that is the case, then the science of sciences, the knowledge of ultimate truth, of course, cannot be something accessible so easily for a commoner. So it would require a prerequisite of adhikar. The adhikar itself would come only when the intellect has converted itself into an all-absorptive capacity. There is a vikas of the buddhi, and that vikasita buddhi can only understand the Brahma Sutra in its real purport. That is the reason why the Brahma Sutra was studied by Chinmayananda Maharaj or by many stalwart rishis, and we are also studying it. The difference is the way we are able to understand it vis-a-vis the way they are able to understand, and the difference lies in the fact that the vikasita avastha of the buddhi, to the extent that it should be done, is the difference. Even that difference is explained by Shankaracharya. So he continues talking about the Adhyasa Bhashya, saying that the Pramana Prameya Vyavahar of Pashu and Manusha are same in Adhyasa. For example, when there is a Shabda and Karna Sanyoga, a Pashu also reacts in the similar manner and a human also reacts in the similar manner. If somebody is giving abuses to you, that means his word and your karma, there is a sanyoga, you feel bad and you walk away from there. Similarly, if a stick is taken in the hand and shown to a pashu, the pashu runs away, because netrendriya and the stick, when there is a sanyoga, it creates a jnana which is repulsive, so they just run away. Reverse happens when you take a fodder in the hand and goes to the pashu. Shankaracharya says the pashu comes closer to you. Similarly, when somebody speaks to you with warm words, you go closer to the person because of the love and affection. That means the animals use their means of perception without vivek or discrimination between body and sharira. But as far as empirical knowledge is concerned, indriya, gochar, anubhav is concerned, animal and human behavior at a basic level is same. Even the Vedic Yajna Yaga, one who is doing, Shankaracharya is now specifically coming to Purva Mimamsa. He says, even if the Vedic Yajna Yaga doer, he supposes the knowledge of Paraloka and does the Yajna. He hasn't yet got the Anubhava of Paraloka. He's doing for the Swarga. For the Swarga, he is doing the Yajna. He has not seen the Swarga. But even mere faint idea of the Swarga is enough for him to do the Yajna. That means this competence that such Vedic has doing the Yajna does not require the absolute knowledge of the object that he is having. Why Shankaracharya is trying to explain this? He says that whatever you do in your Purva Mimamsa or Karma need not have the experience of the Phalam. In fact, it is done for the Phalam. So thus, a Purva Mimamsak, whatever he does not need Brahmadhyan or anything. All his activities are based on Adhyasa only. That means when we are doing any yajna of any kind enunciated in entire Purva Mimamsa, which is the abode of mantras meant for the yajna or yaga. So all the yajna yagas are done with the intention of phalam in the mind. So all Purva Mimamsa is essentially a karma, Purusha Tantra Vyavahara. So it is entirely dependent on me. If I do the karma vidhi in a particular manner, like doing A, then B, then C, then D, and the yajna is complete, then it will give me a phalam like Parjanya Varsha or Swarga Prapti. So that means there is a Praptavya and there is a methodology or karma to do it. This is how the Vedic karmas are done. But in this entire Vedic karma, the knowledge of Brahma is not required. That means even in the Purva Mimamsa or the Yajna, Yaga that we do, including Yajna, Tapa, Dhyanam, Cha, all the three are done in Adhyasa only. So entire Purva Mimamsa, Yajna, Yaga, everything is Adhyasa. Why this is important? Because through this, Shankaracharya gave a solid foundation and a fundamental statement that karma cannot give mukti. Only jnana can give mukti. So, karma and jnana, there is no samasamuchaya. In other words, I am doing meditation. It's a karma. Upasana is a karma. Upasana may lead to jnanam, but is not reason d'etre, the cause of the jnanam. We need to understand two things separately. We are used to karma. We do something, and whenever we do something, there is a phala. Every karma has a phalam. However good and the best karma you do, still it has phalam. I am the most pious man doing yajna tapa and dana. All right, you will be getting swarga as your prapti. Every karma has a phalam. Brahma jnanam is not a karma. So there is no praptavya in that. Why? Because Brahma Anubhava is already pre-existing. If a person comes to know himself, he cannot say that I found out myself. He will only come to know that it was me only. If you want to create anything, apadyata, sampadyata, praptavyata, karma is required. Here we are not obtaining something, manufacturing something, producing something as a phalam, but we are doing praptavya prapti of that which was already prapta. In other words, recognition of that which was already cognized but forgotten. That is why Karma Yoga alone cannot achieve Brahma Jnana as it is done in Adhyasa only. So Chitta Shuddhi is also an Adhyasa. It sounds very bold statement, but it is true. Adhyaso nam atasmin tad buddhi. Superimposition means cognition of something on some other thing. Thus, Karma Adhikari and Jnana Adhikari. Brahma is Jnana. So Brahma Jnana Adhikari is different. And Karma Jnana Adhikari is different. Why Acharya is trying to separate this? He is trying to say that you may be preparing for a marathon. So you are doing your trial runs, you are having best diet, you are every day you are preparing yourself, you are making your body strong enough, you are trying to breathe properly. All this is not running the marathon. Running marathon is separate than preparing for a marathon. Similarly, all the karma that you do is a preparatory, can be max a preparatory phase. Is every day doing practice for marathon is marathon? It is not a marathon. It mimics marathon. Today I did a trial run of 20 kilometers. It is mimicking marathon. Actual marathon is not that. That is on the D-Day. Similarly, all the sadhana that we do is mimicking. That means adhyas. So karma adhikari acts within the adhyasa jagat. These are bahya dharma. So yajna, tapa, dana, yadnika, rutvika, ashrama, varna, all these are adhyasas in bahya dharma. I am fat, I am thin, I am fair, I am standing, I am going are all adhyas in the deha dharma. So bahya dharma adhyasa, deha dharma adhyasa, also Ichha, Sankalpa, Samshaya, Nishchaya or Adhyas of Antakaran Dharma. Acharya is trying to say that all our activities are based on this so-called conceptualization. What we conceptualize in the outer world as yajna, tapa, dana, dharma, varnashrama is also bahyadhyasa. What we do about ourselves as I am Dr. Jadhav, I am the person who is losing the hair, I am the person who is blackish in this thing, all this thin, fat, good, bad, whatever about me is bodily adhyasa called deha dharma adhyasa. And whatever I think, a concept, whatever I do, sankalpa, samshaya, nishchaya about myself, I am so and so, all that what I have on my in my antakarana is also adhyasa called antakarana adhyasa. So bahya dharma adhyasa, deha adhyasa, antakarana adhyasa, all together a big adhyasa is what I am living in. Why this is important? Because you come from one end and start removing the adhyasa. Bahya dharma adhyasa, all the activities that we do outside. Why do then yajna tapadana? It is already said in Gita that you do it. So Gita is trying to tell us the adhyasa. Yes, it is called samvadi brahma. If you keep doing yajna tapadana, your contact or conceptualization about the external world, your adhyasa in the external world, bahya dharma will reduce. Then you do bodily penances, tapa, to reduce the deha dharma adhyasa. Then you do meditation. Meditation is for antakarana dharma adhyasa. You try to retire the sankalpa, nishchaya, vichara. That is precisely what the second sutra of Patanjali Mahavashya says. Patanjali Sutra says, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha is nothing else but removing antakarana dharma adhyasa. And then similarly, the ahankar or the I feeling is also adhyasa on the sarva sakshi, all witnessing pratyagatma. Ahankar is the robber who is the chief robber of the actual light of Chidabhasa, is robbed by this robber called ahankar, and the whole concept realization emerges. So when we start reducing adhyas from the outer to the body, body to the antakarana level, then we confront this ultimate robber called ahankar, which is also an adhyasa. And when this adhyasa of ahankar is dissolved, the adhyasa is gone, the bubble has no more any feeling that he is a bubble, the bubble itself is gone, he has become ocean. So this is how the Adhyasa Bhashya further then goes. Evam ayam anadihi ananto naisargika adhyasaha mithya pratyaya rupaha kartrutva bhoktrutva pravartakaha sarvaloka pratyakshaha. Acharya says, from time immemorial, anadi ananto naisargika adhyasa is happening, and we are living in this world in the form of kartrutva and bhoktrutva bhranti. Ocean will not say, I did this, because he's the only one in the as far as water is concerned. It is the foam who is saying, I am a bigger bubble than the another bubble, which is smaller bubble. So kartrutva bhoktrutva bhranti cannot be there when one is present. Asya anartha hetoho prahanaya Atma ekatva vidya pratipattaye sarve vedanta arabhyante. Why Vedas are considered to be the highest scripture that one can have is because anartha heto prahanaya. In order to annihilate prahanaya, annihilate this adhyasa, sarve Vedanta arabhyante. The study of Upanishad is to make one jnana pravrutta to reduce this adhyasa. And that is why Shankaracharya says, Yathacha ayam Arthaha sarvesha vedantanam tatha vayam asyam sharirika mimamsayam pradarshi yashyamyaha vedanta mimamsa shastrasya vyachi khyasita tasya idam adim sutram. That is why Shankaracharya says, in order to remove this adhyasa, in order to do sharirika mimamsa, Brahma Sutra, the another name is sharirika mimamsa. Why it is called sharirika? The one who enlightens the sharira. Although Chaitanya, if we see in the samashti form, is much larger, Parabrahma, that which is restricted to one body, Atma or Chidabhas, is restricted to one body of a jiva. It is called a sharirika. Sharirika means the same tattva, Atma tattva, which is same as the Brahma tattva. That is why it is called a sharirika. It is worthwhile noting here that this Brahma Sutra Bhashya, when it was written, Acharya's Shishyas were so impressed by it that almost every Acharya's Shishya has written commentary on the commentary of their Acharya Shankaracharya. And Sureshwaracharya, who was the disciple of Shankaracharya, his disciple Sarvajñat Muni wrote a treatise, a scripture on only 4 first sutras. Only first out of 555 Brahma Sutras, only 4 sutras, a big grantha has been written by Sarvajñat Muni called Sankshepa Sharirika. Sankshepa Sharirika means Brahma Sutra. In fact, when this grantha was shown to Shankaracharya, he was so happy that he said to Sarvajñat Muni that, why have you named it as Sankshepa Sharirika? You should call it as Bruhat Sharirika. And the disciple of Shankaracharya, Sarvajñat Muni, said, Swami, what you have written is so great that nothing can be greater than yours. So yours is Bruhat Sharirika, mine is Sankshepa Sharirika. If one tries to read the Sankshepa Sharirika written by Sarvajñat Muni, which is commentary on Shankaracharya's commentary of only first 4 sutras, it is one of the most difficult grantha to understand. So Shankaracharya Maharaj now says, in order to repeal this adhyasa, which I have described in so many words, now I shall try my level best to explain the sutras, and for that I have started commenting on the first sutra of Brahma Sutra. Now Brahma Sutra starts. And the first sutra of Brahma Sutra is Athato Brahma Jidnyasa. Only 3 words. Athato Brahma, Ataha Brahma Jidnyasa. 3 words. Ataha Brahma Jidnyasa. This sutra itself is called Vicharya Adhikarana. That means section dealing with thinking. What is Ataha Brahma Jidnyasa? Of these 3 words, the first word Atha itself has compelled most of the acharyas to write commentaries after commentaries on the one word called Atha. So Acharya starts explaining what Atha is. Atra Atha Shabdaha Anantaryartha Parigruhyate Na Adhikararthaha Brahma Jidnyasa Anadhikaryatvat. The meaning is, the word Atha is used in the sense of sequence. Anantarya means sequence. One after the other is called sequence. That brings us to a very basic thing. What is the meaning of the word Atha? Why the Vedangas and Upavedas were a must before studying the Mukhya Vedas was, unless one is expert and fluent with Shiksha, Chanda, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Jyotisha, it's difficult to find out exactly what is to be done by the meaning of Atha. The fluency of Sanskrit also comes into the picture. Atha word is related to 4 meanings. Atha is also Mangaladai. Atha means Mangala. Mangala. Auspicious. So can Ataha Brahma Jidnyasa be because of Atha is indicating Mangala? No. Why? Acharya says, in Shastra Grantha, there is no need to do Mangala because Shastra itself is Mangala. So Atha here cannot mean Mangala. It is a Mangala Suchaka, but not Mangalartha. So that means Atha has some other meaning. What is the other meaning of Atha? Atha means Arambha. We always say Atha to iti, from to end. So it indicates beginning or Arambha. So does Atha here means Arambha? Second meaning of Atha. Third meaning of Atha is Hetu, Hetu Mata Bhava. Hetu Mata means, Hetu means cause. In normal language, we use Hetu as purpose. That is a wrong interpretation of word Hetu. Hetu means cause. If one has studied in Nyaya Shastra, there is Hetvabhas, Hetu, Panchavayavi, Vakya. So Hetu means cause. And Hetu Mata, effect. So Atha also indicates cause and effect. Hetu Mata Bhava. Cause and effect means there is a cause, and now you want to describe the effect, you will use word Atha. So this is third meaning. And the fourth meaning is Arthantaratva. Arthantaratva means it is indicating a different subject matter. When you finish with one subject and you take another subject, you use the word Atha in between to indicate the change of subject. Now, Acharya says Arthantaratva is not applicable here because it is the first sutra itself. So there is no subject prior to it that it indicates. So Arthantaratva cannot be meaning. Mangala cannot be meaning. Now the only fight remains between Atha means Arambha or Atha means Anantarya, sequence. Atha Ataha Brahma Jidnyasa. Now starts Brahma Jidnyasa or now follows Brahma Jidnyasa. See why Shastra Granthas are difficult to interpret and why we have to believe or take the recourse to the Acharyas is because their buddhi is far at a higher level. Atha means now we start Brahma Jidnyasa, or Atha means now we follow Brahma Jidnyasa. Follow means there is something before. Which meaning to take? And mind well, there is a fight between big acharyas on this. Shankaracharya says, Shankaracharya, Nimbarkacharya, and Ramanujacharya, all the three say it is Anantarya. That means it is a sequence that they are talking about. That means there is something prior and then Brahma Jidnyasa starts. Why this is so critical? It is so critical because tomorrow, and why tomorrow? Today itself, we all are sitting to know Brahma Sutra. Will we understand after reading the entire Brahma Sutra, when all the lectures are over, will we become Brahmajnani? Not even the person who is talking. Why? Because Atha indicates some previous thing, previous preparation that we don't have. Actually, the Brahma Sutra is made for the one who has previous preparation. That is indicated because that preparation is first, and then sequence follows. So atha word is used according to Shankaracharya, Nimbarkacharya, and Ramanujacharya. What is that atha indicating? According to Shankaracharya and Nimbarkacharya, it is indicating sadhana chatushta. So after the one has completed the sadhana chatushta, atha, then atha follows however, Vallabhacharya doesn't agree with that. Vallabhacharya says atha means arambha. Now starts Brahma Jidnyasa. No previous thing that is talking about. Vachaspati Mishra doesn't agree with Vallabhacharya. He says there is a difference between Jidnyasa and Mimamsa. Jidnyasa and Mimamsa. Mimamsa means vichar. Mimamsa means vichar. For the vichara, do you require any previous thing? You don't. You start thinking right away. I want to think about how a building is built. I can start my thinking right away. Yes, whether I will understand it or not, that's a different thing. But vichara I can start. But in case of jidnyasa, it presupposes a previous standing. It presupposes a sequence that is being followed. In other words, Vachaspati Mishra Maharaj gives explanation supporting Shankaracharya's view. He says, when you have doubt about something which you have studied, then Jidnyasa comes into the picture. Athato Brahma Jidnyasa. You are trying to do Jidnyasa of the Brahman. That means you have studied something before it which had led to the doubt about the Brahma. So there is Brahma Jidnyasa. It is not Mimamsa. One fine day, what is Brahma? No. To know, to have, to come in the mind a doubt that what is Brahma requires, presupposes something, because a only verbal doubt, everybody of us has a verbal doubt, what is Brahma? Verbal doubt is not that is going to lead to anything. A scientist is studying the relationship between bacteria and the disease. He keeps studying and then he has a doubt whether a particular chemical existing in that bacteria is causing this disease or the cell wall is causing this. That means there is a samshaya after the study of the bacteria. That is jidnyasa. First, the Copernicus or whosoever, he studied the movement of stars for a very long time, Galileo, and then they had a doubt whether this earth is the center of this thing movement or the sun is the center around which earth is revolving. Doubt came, so it was jidnyasa. That means atha, meaning, what is the meaning of atha then? Keeping in mind the doubt about the four different meanings of atha and its relative implication. Because if you say atha means sequence to follow, that means it says, presupposes that you should be geared up. You must have adhikar to know Brahma. And if you say it is not sequential follow-up, that means anybody can start studying the Brahma Sutra. That is why, first of all, atha word itself decides the authority of the sequential follow-up. So that is why one word called atha of the first sutra called Athato Brahma Jidnyasa, Ataha Brahma Jidnyasa is so critically analyzed. Imagine the intellect of Vyasa Muni, who just wrote one line, 3 words of which first word is creating so much of heated debate amongst the topmost acharyas. Why? Because all this, if it is not perfect, then we are actually pursuing highest truth, Brahma. There cannot be any scope for any deviation. That is the reason, because if studied properly, it should lead to the ultimate truth in the universe, in the world, and forever. That is the reason why it is being dissected and dissected and dissected. The Brahma Sutra may appear drab and dry in discussion, but it is absolutely bullseye discussion as far as the meaning is concerned. That is why each sutra, each word commented upon, each word having Purva Paksha, Siddhanta Paksha, that is how the journey is going to unfold. What is Acharya then talking about this? What is his interpretation about the meaning of Atha, Ataha, and Brahma Jidnyasa? This will be the topic that will be continued into the next session. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnam Nidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Hari Om.
Hari Om, Sanjay ji, this is Rajendra. Actually, after hearing today's session, a lot of questions are occurring in the mind. But I will ask a couple of questions only. From Adhyasa Bhashya, conclusion of Adhyasa Bhashyam, you know, this in Mahabharata, there is an occasion where Yudhishthira was asked a question by the Yaksha. What is the most wonderful thing in this world? And you know, all other brothers are lying dead there. You know the background. And he said, Ahani Ahani Budani Gachandi Yamalaye Sheshas Tavara Michandi Kim Adbuda Madatparam. So that is well proven today's session, because this is the most wonderful thing, that we are thinking that we are permanent here. That has been cleared. And another thing is that today's session is, you know, Narayana Guru's, there is a work called Deva Dashakam, 10 stanzas about the Deva Dashakam. It's a very famous stanza, I mean, work, which has been translated to more than 100 languages. The entire session is in conscious, I mean, concluded in, I mean, entirely included in this Deva Dashakam. What we have discussed today is occurring in that, the entire thing. Now, another is Jnana is most important than karma. This has been described in Bhagavad Gita. Yadaitamsi samidokni basmasat kurude Arjuna. Tada jnanakni sarva karmani basmasat kurude tada. The way the logs are burned into ashes, like that, all karmas, all actions are burned into ashes by the jnana. So jnana is ultimately the supreme. That has been proven and it has been described here very well. And now we have, you know, kamana, we have desires. this source of desire also is adhyasa. I mean, there is no base for that. That is what you said today, and that is what we have. I mean, I have learned earlier also. And one of the most important thing in today's session is that, so I was under the impression that the Chadusutri was the creation, the work of Suresira Acharya. But you have mentioned it is Sarvajñat Muni, Shishya of Suresira Acharya. That is a new knowledge to me. And finally, when we come to Adado Brahma Jitnyasa, that is, it is not concluded. There is no point in asking a question. Actually, I have read the Nitya Vistya. I mean, Sadhana Chatushtayam is the after despite doing a lot of things, we have not reached to that position what we are looking. Therefore, Adha. That is what it means in elsewhere I have read, and in many other sessions I have heard like this. This is despite doing so many things like puja and arati and a lot of jnana, yajna, yaga, but ultimate desire of ours, our whatever we desire has not been achieved. Therefore, Brahma Jitnyasa, let us know about Brahma. This is what I have learned. So we are continuing the session. There is no, I mean, we cannot answer it now. After completing this sutra only, we will complete that, isn't it?
Very true.
Yeah, this is what I want to say. It was very wonderful session today. Thank you.
Hari Om. Sanjay ji, any more questions? Otherwise, I have one question. Sanjay ji, so when we say that this is all adhyasa, is it like now that we talk about the gati of jiva? Is it the gati of the this conscious state of, I mean, the Jagrat Avastha of mind, the jiva, or it is the state of dream state? The jiva has a different dream state. In the dream state, the jiva is taking care, and when we are coming out of the dream state, we are totally, I mean, denying that, or we are laughing at the dream. So, which one is correct? Which jiva is followed? To see the path, or I mean, because it is very easy to understand comparing with the dream. When we come out of the dream, we are realized. But from this conscious state of Jagrat Avastha to realization, we are not able to do that. But are we following the Jagrat Avastha's gati of jiva, or what is right? Are you just
Jagrata Avastha is the Avastha where Pratibhasik Satta is not there. Swapna Avastha is Pratibhasik Satta, Prati Abhas. So when you are into Pratibhasik Satta, you are already in Adhyasa or Abhas when you are Jagrut. Prati Abhas, that means based on the Adhyasa of the Jagrut Avastha, you have Pratibhasik Satta in the Swapna. So it is like the person who is drunk had started imagining a scorpion on the wall. So now the question is, first of all, he is drunk. It itself is an avastha which is different than the normal person. In that drunk avastha, he saw the scorpion on the wall. Now when he comes out of drunkardness, scorpion vanishes. So what has happened is, for the scorpion is basically a further superimposition that has happened in the person who is already superimposed with something. So that is why it goes logically that if one has to come out of the superimposition, then he should be coming out of the superimposition first, then the superimposition. So Jagrut Avastha is the only Avastha which can lead, because that being the least superimposed Avastha amongst the three. Because in the Nidrista Avastha or Sushupti, we are not at all aware of the functioning of the mind. Had the sleep continued forever, there was no question of we doing any sadhana. Because virtually you are completely absent as far as everything. You are, the only problem is, in the Nidrit Avastha, one, it is limited, and second is you are not aware of the Swaswarup. Otherwise, between Nidra and Samadhi, there is no difference whatsoever, except the fact that the one who is asleep doesn't know that he is asleep, while the one who is in Samadhi, he knows that he is in Samadhi. So one is Jnatavyata, another is complete absence of Jnatavyata. So in Jagruta Avastha is the only Avastha when we try our level best to analyze the Adhyasa in the manner so that we keep doing the things in the Adhyasa required to go out of the Adhyasa. It is like a mother who tells the child that if you don't eat, the phantom will come from outside, the ghost will come from outside and will trouble you, so you better eat. Now the child presupposes the phantom and eats the food. So what is happening? Mother is using the ghost or the phantom for the good use of the child so that he can eat. Similarly, we do all the sadhana. Sadhana is a phantom or a ghost that we use in order to realize the Brahma. So that is why it is justified for the mother to bring in the ghost. Because if anybody asks logically, you tell him to eat, no, why do you want to bring the ghost in between? Because he is used to the ghost. The child has got some imagination about ghosts which he utilizes for the realistic approach of eating. Eating is real. Ghost is, although surreal, it is not at all real. Similarly, sadhana is unreal to get the real. So that is why the gati of the jiva towards the reality is through the fictitious nature or the superimposition nature of the world. So you remain in the superimposed world and chuck out your way through the superimposition to non-superimposed state. That is what precisely the all Grantha Rachana is, including Veda. So Veda is the last superimposed state that you discard when you go. You become Veda Bahya in the spiritual sense, because Vedas are also of no significance. That is why Tukaram Maharaj used a very bold statement. He said, Vedansa to artha amasi chatawa anikani bhava bharamata. He said, I am the only one. People like us are the only one who knows Brahma. For others, or Veda, for others, it is a burden on the head. This confidence comes from the fact that even these Vedas are also not required. Because Veda is what? Adhyasa. This is the Vyapti of Adhyasa. The depth of Adhyasa needs to be understood from this perspective. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Sanjay ji. So that means, like the mother using ghost for the child, I am supposed to use sadhana to take care of the ego, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And one more thing, that samvadi and nidrit. What is this difference? I mean, samvadi means?
Vadi and samvadi. These are the two opposite things. Vadi means the child thinks that the phantom or the ghost is so true that he decides not to eat and completely gets involved into the ghost. It will be Vadi Brahma. But samvadi means if he just thinks of that and uses it for his good purpose of eating the food, it is samvadi Brahma. In other words, Veda is adhyasa only. But by studying Veda, I am going to get out of the adhyasa. Then it is leading me to a right way, right destination. That which leads you to right destination, although adopted in the wrong manner, is samvadi Brahma. That which is adopted, which cannot lead you to the right destination, vadi Brahma. So the one who is deluded, also using the word for the salvation. If you use it for salvation, yajna tapadana, samvadi Brahma. Theft, stealing, coveting somebody's wife, vadi Brahma. That is the only difference. There is no difference between a thief and a saint. The difference between the two is one uses universe as an instrument to get out, one uses instrument to get in. Are you?
So how that is connected to Nidrita Avastha, you said that is only just a passing remark.
With Swadi and Savadi Brahma. Nidrit Avastha is when we were comparing the three avasthas, Jagrut, Swapna, and
Yeah, okay. Okay, Hari Om. Any more questions? Otherwise, we'll close the session for the day.